First tip, you are going to need some of these, and you're going to need to turn them on in every room in your house. Suffice it to say, this video is not suitable for children. Don't save Neuro rounds for the final boss, because it makes very little difference. Neuro rounds are best used on those obese mold monsters that vomit bile. Not only does it do terrific damage if you hit them in the head, but it also has an area of effect freeze function, allowing you to take out your shotgun and blast them while they stand there like idiots. If you are speedrunning the game, dropping a shot right here allows you to run up the ladder without fear of taking damage. If you want to climb back down the ladder, the mold monsters will have disappeared. The machine gun's recoil is much easier to handle if you only fire 3 shots at a time. You get the first 2 shots for free without recoil. After that, recoil goes up at an even pace for as long as you fire the weapon. Obviously, the closer you are to the enemy, the less that the recoil actually matters. If Jack is annoying you, sneaking up on you while you're trying to find stuff, you can take him down. He stays down for quite a while on normal mode, though not so long on Madhouse mode.
About dozed off there for a minute.
If you're playing on the hardest difficulty, he stays down for only 2 minutes. I used the circular saw that I got for clearing the game within 4 hours. It was still given as a reward even though I did it on easy mode. The circular saw can be used to destroy insect nests even before you get the flamethrower. The much maligned circular saw does have its uses, and it isn't as underpowered as some people think. Hold the circular saw out, set it going, and allow the molded to run into it, making sure to target their head. Some people have expressed disappointment with the weapon, but that's because the slash attack sucks. Holding it out and letting the enemies destroy themselves is far more satisfying. Do not aim the flamethrower. All it does is slow you down. Look here how, when I aim, I cannot move the flamethrower as quickly. You really don't have to aim. It has such a broad area of effect that there's no need for precision. Also, notice there that I needed very little flame to get the job done. The flamethrower adds a burning effect, but the act of firing itself has very little offensive power on its own. That is why the flamethrower does such little damage to Marguerite during her boss fight. You only need to fire for as long as it takes for the enemy to start burning. See there how I gave the bugs a quick burst with the flamethrower, and they burned for a while before being destroyed. There are certain crates and containers in the game that offer up randomized loot. I have tried to manipulate the randomization, but it just didn't work. My biggest theory was that it reacted to whatever I had in my inventory. If I stuffed my inventory with health items, I assumed I would receive ammo, and vice versa, but either it's completely random, or it's based on a system that I didn't discover. Either way, some of the breakable crates and things like the bins have randomized items in during the main game. Ergo, if you're near a save spot and you know the layout well enough, you could ignore a few crates and bins, save, and then try your luck, perhaps reloading if you don't get the ammo or items that you desperately want. Shoot the molded's head for the most damage, limbs for some damage, and body for almost no damage. This is the regular gun with enhanced ammo. All the shots hit the torso, and the beast just marches onwards unfazed. This means that shooting the body is of very little use, such as here. Getting off a few shots while the monster emerges is almost completely pointless. If you are in danger, don't reload your gun, just switch to the next loaded weapon. This is very handy during the Marguerite boss fight when you need to inflict as much damage as possible within a short window of time. It also makes use of the M21 shotgun, the grenade launcher, and the Albert gun, all having very low ammo capacities. You can switch between each very quickly, getting the most out of those very powerful, albeit limited weapons. You can cancel the animation for healing by blocking. Here is the healing animation running its full span. Here is what happens if you block right away after the paw. And do notice that there on the watch, it shows that my health has now gone to green. The obvious benefit here is that during tense moments, you can heal far faster than it otherwise seems to appear. In this example here, I want to run past the monsters and use the key, but while I'm selecting the key, I'm accosted from behind. Instead, before you start, go into your inventory and put the selector on the item that you wish to use. That way, when you need to use the item, you can select it right away by pressing and then pressing again, rather than having to navigate to find it. When you pick up treasure photos, they give you clues as to where the secret may lie. You should inspect the photo, check its writing, and then you are able to discard it. The hidden item will not spawn unless you look at the photo. Looking at the photo will unlock that secret area, Once it's unlocked, it doesn't matter if you keep the photo. This is as close to an exploit as we're going to get in this video, but it's possible to fool the 3 monsters near the end part of the mine. You awaken the monsters, go crawl near the hole, but don't go in. Do this and you'll find yourself in a position where the mold monsters can't get to you. Don't save up your coins for the Magnum. Buy the steroid and stabilizer first. I scoured as far and wide as I could, and I only found 17 bullets on normal difficulty. Its limited ammo means that you don't urgently need the Magnum to help you pass through any of the early areas. Many people just save the Magnum for use on the final boss anyway. If you are going to get the Magnum as early as your first visit to the trailer, then don't use it on Marguerite, because she's oddly immune to its power. I prove this later in the video that her head is her weakest point, not, as many believe, her insect hive. And you can see here that I pump 4 Magnum rounds into her head, I miss the 5th, but then later I blast her with another one, and she's still standing there. I mean, I've just used almost 40% of the game's entire Magnum ammo on just one boss, and it hasn't made the fight even noticeably easier. It just really isn't worth wasting the Magnum shots on this boss. After you complete the insect house with Marguerite, use the separating agents on the rest of your flame burner fuel. Fire is only useful on insects, and as you will see later in this video when I give boss guides, fire is also a way of stopping Marguerite from attacking you. This means that once you leave the insect house, there really isn't any use for your flame burner. Fire acts to create damage over time. If you are close enough to regular mold monsters to burn them, then they are close enough to you to do some serious damage. So, get rid of your flame burner fuel once you have completed that area. The only reason flame grenades are a viable tool is because they fire at enemies who are a long way away. This is with the reasoned hope that they will have burned up and taken lots of damage before they even reach you. Plus, the grenade itself deals impact damage as well as fire damage, so it is still a viable option against the molded. You can reload while moving and even while sprinting. It's not utterly surprising that you can reload while you sprint, especially since Ethan sprints no faster than a brisk walk. Since you can reload while you're sprinting, it's another good reason to buy the stabilizer before you buy the Magnum. The game and the bosses require a lot of running around, and faster reload times helps quite a bit. In the child's bedroom, press the button under the lamp to lower the ladder, then up here and around here. This is the toy axe, and this is the model shotgun. If you repaired the broken shotgun, then the regular M37 shotgun should still be on the statue. Add the model shotgun to retrieve the regular or broken shotgun, depending on whichever one you chose earlier. Off outside and down to the left, you're going to see a light puzzle. You need to hold up the toy axe so that it forms the number 7. It's a little fiddly, but if you angle it the right way, then it looks like a 7. Then, inside the box, you're going to find a stabilizer. This will further improve your reload speeds. If you have the extended versions or the DLC, then double check to see if it's installed. I had to install the Not a Hero manually, yet the DLC that came with the Gold Edition seemed to download and install on its own. You don't have to save or hoard lockpicks. If you are a hardcore gamer, your instinct will be to save and hoard your lockpicks for use on potentially important containers, but such hoarding is unnecessary in this game. If you see something that needs picking, then use your lockpicks. The same is true of corrosive liquid on the wrecked ship. There is plenty of corrosive liquid for each lock, so long as you pick them all up as you explore the ship. You are immune to most types of your own blast damage. This means you can fire your grenade as closely as you like and you won't be harmed. It also means you can stand fairly close to a remote bomb without it killing you. Also, if you are pinned down by a monster, select your remote bomb and you can attach it to the head of the monster for the spicy meatball trophy or achievement. Ideally, you should break crates and hit nearby everywhere statues with your knife, but shooting them isn't all that problematic, especially later in the game when the handgun plays less of a role. Plus, knifing crates is such a traditional Resident Evil trope that Lucas sets his to explode, sort of a nudge nudge wink wink to longtime fans of the series.
Grin grin, wink wink, nudge nudge, say no more.
Also, like with other Resident Evil games, reloading weapons can free up some space in your inventory, as can combining items together. If you are doing a 3-item box run, along with a no health item run, then don't pick up health items when you see them. Enemies do not respawn but may repopulate. When you return to some areas later, a new type of enemy may appear. In some cases, it's the same type of enemy, but it's stronger. These areas will repopulate whether you eliminate the earlier enemies or not. Again, if you take down the later enemies, they too will not respawn. You get the Secrets of Defense for completing the game on normal difficulty. You get the Essence of Defense by destroying all 20 Mr. Everywhere statues in a single run. Even on Madhouse difficulty, if you have these Secrets of Defense and Essence of Defense, then blocking will protect you from 100% of damage. Also, on Madhouse difficulty, if you need health more than you need ammo, you can use some of the separating fluid you find strewn about the place, and you can create ingredients for health items. Treat steroid injectables as if they are health items, because they refill your health when you use them, though this is not true of the stabilizer. You can see there, it doesn't heal, it just increases reloading speeds. There is a trophy called Frugalist. It asks you to complete the main story without using a recovery item. In this case, the injections become your only optional method of health regeneration. The very first time I played Resident Evil 7, the subtitles were off by default. Keep them that way unless you really need them. Your eye is drawn to the words whenever they appear, meaning that you miss the action on screen. Subtitles, in this game at least, are rather distracting. I think it's because during periods of fear or dread, the subtitles remind you that you are playing a game. On the left on your inventory screen, you can see your next objective. This is handy if you haven't played all week and you want to remember where you were and what you were doing. Mine says that I should pick up the shotgun, even though I already have the broken one. In my case, I need to replace the regular shotgun with the model shotgun in order to cross that objective off my list. Do not watch the VHS tapes if you're going for the 4-hour speedrun trophy or achievement. You do have to watch the unavoidable one provided by Lucas, and the other one that you're forced to watch by the little girl, but all other videotapes are optional in terms of story completion. If you watch them during a speedrun, it will add precious minutes to your game time. You can combine stuff while using the box, which is handy for people who are only trying to use the box 3 times. There's also an auto-sort function down there on the bottom left. It helps make things easier to find, especially later in the game when you have lots of stuff. The Crow and Scorpion keys are only used twice each and never again. The Snake key is used 3 times, but one of them is not truly necessary. You cannot discard these keys, so once they've been used, put them in your item box since you'll never need to use them again. Pressing back and B on the Xbox, or back and circle on PlayStation, will quickly turn you around so that you can make a tactical retreat. It's much faster than turning manually. Here on the wrecked ship is a great example of a quick turn. A monster spawns right behind you as soon as you move near to the fuse. A quick turn allows you to leave without taking any damage. Double press the door to fling it open rather than creak it open and push. I was well past the area with Marguerite before I learned this, which is ridiculous considering how easy it is to get caught by enemies while you're going through doors. Combine this with the previous tip and you can fling open the doors you run through, do a quick 180 turn, and then close the door all within just a few seconds of each other. If you are going for the item box opening achievement, then you have to use the box when you start the Lucas section. You also need to use it after you complete the Lucas section, so be sure to pick up the obvious things like your knife, your choice of weapons and ammo. You'll also need the D-Series arm, and you should already have picked the rest up from the Lucas section. You will also need the crank. If like me you haven't picked up the grenade launcher yet, then leave space for it. Do not take the burner. It doesn't have the offensive power needed to get you through the rest of the game. If you don't fancy backtracking, you can still pick up the grenade launcher at the start of the mine. It appears there if you didn't pick it up earlier. Also, the start of the mine is a good place to open the box for the 3rd and final time, simply because you are going in mostly empty-handed if you do not. And don't forget that while you're in the box, you can still combine things. Like with other games of a similar ilk, you can play peekaboo with the enemies. You use the environment to protect yourself while sneaking around and shooting when the enemy is vulnerable. Here is an example of some Major League peekabooing against this boss monster. It is on easy mode, so the boss is a little more forgiving, but you can see what I mean. You put just enough environment in the way of the enemy while giving your more dexterous self the ability to peek around and shoot when you feel the time is right. Telling you to shut doors is frustrating for me because almost every tips video and article tells you to shut doors as if they reinvented the wheel. So many tips are repeated online because when videos are made quickly, people just copy the first 2 or 3 results they find, leading to copies of the same tips. Shutting doors is no big thing, but what you've been watching here are just a few examples where it helped out gameplay on the wrecked ship. Firstly, because there are a lot of doors on the wrecked ship, and secondly, because for some of your time on the wrecked ship you have no weapons. It's to the point where shutting a door is a big help. The most frequently missed item in the game is at the very beginning. Go to the fire and pick up the bag. Check it out, find the driver's license, and choose to take a look at it. It is especially important if you're going for the files, trophy, or achievement. If you miss it and enter the house, you are locked in and you're unable to retrieve the bag until your next playthrough. If this is your second playthrough and you're not doing the 4-hour game time achievement, then you can watch the Derelict House video. Step backwards, look down, and pick up the lockpick. Then unlock the drawer using the lockpick, and if you wish, you can immediately quit out of the video. You can then go back and collect the first antique coin without having to go through the entire video. Though do be aware that there is a trophy achievement for watching all of the videos in one playthrough. When you visit the yard for the very first time, there are quite a few things that are easily missed. Herb, gunpowder, so I'm going to quickly cover what you can find out here. Gunpowder, shotgun shells, supplements. These make Neuro grenade rounds, which come in very handy later. Here is the puzzle area where you hold up a toy axe like a number 7. Here is the first repair kit, which you can use to fix up the broken shotgun or pistol. Another herb. In here is a lockpick. Antique coin. Separating fluid. Chem fluid. Mr. Everywhere bobblehead statue. Broken pistol. And antique coin. Once you find the treasure photo, there's also an item in the toilet bowl. So overall, it's a pretty good haul for such a small area. The .44 Magnum is the strongest handgun in the game with a fair rate of fire, but since it only has 17 bullets on normal mode, so much as I could find, it's pretty useless in the grand scheme of things. The Albert 01R is a reward for beating the game on any difficulty. It is the second most powerful handgun, but it only fires 3 shots, and it fires them fairly slowly at that. It also does nothing to stop the enemies from moving towards you. The MPM, M19 and G17 all have the same rate of fire, and none of them have any sort of recoil. The MPM is from the ship, and the G17 is a standard weapon, and both of them are equally powerful. The M19 handgun, which is the previously broken handgun, is more powerful than those two, but it only holds 7 bullets. If you are trying to complete the game within 4 hours, then check your pause screen to see how long you have been playing. The game timer stops when you pause. Everything else is timed, including looking at menus, maps, using items, and even cutscenes. Unskippable cutscenes are counted as part of your time. Skippable cutscenes are not counted as part of your playtime, but during my playthrough I only came across 2 of them. The one here on the wrecked ship, and this one, but this played for me after the trophy popped for beating the game in under 4 hours. You can also skip the end credits if you wish. Most importantly, and this is a big one, if you are trying to beat the game's 4-hour time challenge, then choosing retry does not reset the clock. You need to quit and load a manual save if you want to get back the time you lost when your character died. The 4-legged molded are easier to kill if you crouch. It lines up your aim with their head, making a kill shot far easier, especially since the creature is running towards you with its head in your direction. They are also much less likely to jump if you are crouched. Plus, again, you don't have to angle your shot downwards. You need only aim straight forwards and you will make the shot. This experiment demonstrates the effectiveness of blocking. While on normal difficulty, here is how many times you can block against the walking molded. I have taken no steroids, nor am I using defensive coins or buffs. After taking all 3 steroids, the total hit number goes up. With that consideration, the game suddenly becomes a little less scary. With the DLC coin and the universal coin in my inventory, and with all 3 steroids, the amount I can block goes up again. This makes the monsters in this game at least a little less threatening. Knowing this about blocking should go a long way to making this game less scary. Another trick is to mute the volume and to turn the brightness up a little bit. It's helpful if you're playing at night or alone. The standard route is to get the broken shotgun from Grandma's room and then take it down and use it to replace the functional shotgun. If you leave the caravan and you go this way, you can use this gun repair item to fix up your broken shotgun, turning it into the M21 shotgun. This may seem counterintuitive since you've left a perfectly good and equally powerful shotgun indoors. However, the shotgun can be retrieved later, and there's another repair kit in the Lucas area that allows you to fix up the pistol. If you followed my advice from the previous tip, you may have assumed that the broken shotgun is somehow more powerful than the already intact shotgun, but this is not true. They are both equally powerful. The M21 starts out as the broken shotgun until you fix it with the repair kit. The M37 shotgun has a 4-shot capacity, but the downside is that its range of effectiveness is very short. You need to be standing next to the enemy for your shot to reach its full power. The M21, however, has a middle distance range, meaning it can decapitate bosses who are a middle distance away. The trouble is it only stores 2 shots, and it takes an overly long time to load. Also, with the regular shotgun, as you can see here at the end, you can shoot even while you are halfway through loading, which is something that you cannot do with the previously broken M21. Contrary to popular belief, the M21 is no stronger than the regular shotgun. At close range, they both deal the same amount of damage. You can run past quite a few enemies in this game without it ever affecting the rest of your playthrough. For which I mean, if you run past an enemy in an area where there are no remaining collectibles or story elements, then it has no effect on the rest of your playthrough. An easy example is here. Run past this enemy and you will never be bothered by it again. During this part of the game especially, you can run past enemies without any negative effect on gameplay because you have no reason to revisit this place. If you combine strong chem fluid with gunpowder, you get 10 enhanced handgun bullets. Combine gunpowder with 10 regular handgun bullets, and you get 5 enhanced handgun bullets. This is not a recipe that you craft. You have to do it manually in the inventory screen. Giving up 10 bullets for only 5 enhanced bullets doesn't seem like a good bargain, but if you took my advice from the previous tip on figuring out which enemies to fight and which ones to run past, you should have slightly more bullets than you would otherwise have. Use psychostimulants whenever you find them. Don't bother hoarding psychostimulants because most people forget they even exist. Instead, whenever you pick them up, use them right there and then. They are spread out around the game in a way where it makes sense to use them where you find them. They allow you to find items as you explore each area. After defeating Marguerite, you can open all the cabinets without having to burn the spiders. Ergo, take the psychostimulant that you find on the sofa, and you can collect up all of that stuff fairly easily. Though do use good judgment. For example, here in this tiny narrow area that you've probably already explored, perhaps use your psychostimulants a little later in the game. There is almost no need to hoard them. After you reach the wrecked ship area, you cannot use the stimulants that Ethan has collected. You don't get his stuff back until you reach the mine. More frustratingly, the last 4 antique coins are located on the wrecked ship, and 2 of them are missable before you even find any psychostimulants. I wouldn't recommend that you manufacture them. They are made using supplements and chem fuel, but supplements are put to much better use if you mix them with strong chem fluid to create Neuro rounds, which are almost as powerful as a Magnum shot. If you were to save, leave the room, use a psychostimulant to see what's in the local area, there's nothing stopping you from memorizing those locations and then loading your save to go back and get them. Though, in my experience, it isn't worth the hassle. In my opinion, it's just easier to use these psychostimulants whenever you pick them up. I can only speak for the PlayStation on this one, but it seems that the trophy elements are counted outside of the game. I say this because at the end game screen it said that I'd missed 2 of the Mr. Everywhere statues, so I looked up the ones I'd missed and I reloaded the game near the first one that I'd missed. However, I shot one of the statues and then a little later I shot the other one and for some reason the trophy popped. If I still want the Essence of Defense reward, I still need to complete the game from that point onwards while continuing to shoot the Mr. Everywhere statues. My anecdotal evidence is that the DLC coins do make the boss fights quicker, though it's difficult to prove because some boss fights go better than others. The boss fights are predetermined in a way that seems partially randomized. It's difficult to know what prompts what, which makes retesting a little tricky. You gain access to the DLC coins the first time you find an item box. You also have access to them on the wrecked ship. You have to wait until you start the videotape section, whereupon you can access your box and get your stuff. The DLC coins do take up space in your inventory, but it really doesn't matter. If you run out of space, just discard one of your coins and send it back to the item box. Again, this is only for the DLC coins. Don't discard the antique coins by mistake. Buy the DLC coins if you wish. I can't say they make a heap of difference to the point-by-point gameplay, but they are handy for bosses. This is because if you want to carry several of them, it's only really doing the boss fights when you have the empty space in your inventory. I will say that if you're hunting down every trophy or achievement, then it's less frustrating if you have these coins to back you up. As for if you buy them, it's really up to you. Chainsaw Mia. Here are all the advantages you can take when fighting Chainsaw Mia. Up the ladder just a bit, and then back off all the way, and try to get in a headshot if you can. Otherwise, wait for her to charge. Her charge attacks are blockable, and they cause no damage. Advantage number 3 is door number 1. Double press to fling it open, and then use the 180-degree turn, as mentioned earlier, to close the door, and then take the time to reload your gun. Watch where her head is, but don't shoot until the door starts to crack. I wasted bullets there, which is a problem if you are playing on the hardest difficulty. Run around here and close the door. If you don't close it, she will follow you. Wait in here, facing this way, and reload. Again, use the gap to see where her head is, but don't shoot until the wall starts to crack. Same deal as before with the door. Missing a lot of shots there, try to stick to a single headshot or two. Now, the next set of advantages I will show you involve the axe. I thought I would let her take a slice of me there, but I don't suggest you do the same. The wooden beams will distract her, which is ideal if you are using the axe. She charges here, but remember that her charges can be blocked for no damage. Then you need to hide behind a wooden beam. She saws through the beam, lurches forward and pauses, giving you a chance to slash at her. It's actually more difficult using the gun in this case because it takes too long to line up the shot. The final advantage is the final beam, again giving you a chance to slash at her while she pauses. The only other viable advantage is simply to make sure your headshots hit. A combination of all these advantages should make this fight more manageable. I'm going to show you the previous method used for Chainsaw Mia, but I'm going to show it to you on Madhouse difficulty, perhaps because it's the most difficult boss that Madhouse has to offer. That is working on the assumption that you have played the other difficulties and you have all the rewards and such, in which case it's only the section with Mia at the beginning and the beginning section of the wrecked ship where you are truly at a disadvantage.
It all has to come down.
As you can see, I'm using the methods shown in the previous tip, and even though I miss a few shots, it goes pretty well and I take no damage. I don't like asking people to subscribe or like, but for some reason on YouTube it seems to work. I think it's even possible that YouTube favors channels that say the word subscribe, so I just did. Garage Jack. Run over here and get the car key as soon as possible. I watched him mutilate the downed cop, so he had time to saunter over and grab me, get into the car and start it up. The rest is scripted until you're asked to run him over, which you should try to do a few times until the next scripted event happens. If you are playing on Madhouse difficulty, the car key is inside of a locked box. You do not have to use the lockpick if you don't want to. If you do enough damage to Jack, he will get into the car and use his own key. Once you are out of the car, you can grab the gun if you want to, but it really doesn't matter. Jack will bring it to you if you don't pick it up. Go over to the desk and crouch. When he approaches, turn around and look at the stool. He grabs you but lets go, so turn back around and look at the stool. By which time, the car should have exploded and taken him down. And that's the end of the fight, which you can do with no damage and without firing a shot. Chainsaw Jack. There is a bit of luck involved in the third phase of this fight, so I'm going to show you two strategies that are ever so slightly different, but may work well for you. This is strategy number 1. I'm on normal difficulty with no coins, no steroids, and with 10 bullets of regular ammo. My aim is to pop 10 rounds into his head. Sadly, I miss a few. Running around the stone pillar is a sound strategy. I have shot my 10 bullets, so now I'm going to resort to using the knife, aiming for the head obviously. Now he's down, I slash away. Some say that it's better to shoot, but you often have to reload, which wastes valuable seconds. The kick he gave me is because I'm stood in his way. I don't suggest you allow him to do the same thing to you. He wanders over to get his chainsaw, and you need to slash him as much as possible before picking up the chainsaw yourself. Getting damage in now will make phase 2 go faster. His first attack is always a broad sweep, so you'll have to duck. After that, try to get around to his side and slash him with the chainsaw. He goes down slightly faster here because of the knife damage from earlier. Now you need to thrust attack at his head. When the scripted head slicing segment starts, that's the end of phase 2. When he goes down in a ball of bodily mush, you need to thrust attack him with the chainsaw. Phase 2 sometimes lasts longer if you didn't get enough damage in fast enough. Now for phase 3. I'm mostly slashing and ducking where necessary. He has destroyed the stone pillow, so the aim of the game is to get behind him and alternate between attacking stood up and attacking crouched down. On normal mode with no upgrades and without healing, this third phase may be considered a lucky run. That's because he lets me get behind him more often than not. Nevertheless, that was strategy number 1. Here is strategy number 2. In this case I have more than 10 bullets. Run around the stone pillar, but stay very close as you loop. It makes it difficult for Jack to swipe at you without he himself hitting the pillar. Aim to get 10 shots into his head with the standard gun and regular ammo. You can kick the hanging bags and stagger him slightly, but I don't suggest you bother. You can block all of his attacks, but you will still take some damage. This time, when he goes down, I finish my ammo before taking out the knife. In this case, I am purposefully getting in his way so that I can slash him for longer, though the downside is that he's still inflicting damage on me. Remember, the more he suffers here, the faster we get to the scripted part where the chainsaw goes through his head. He grabs his weapon, and as always, his first attack is a big broad swing that you should duck. At first, I'm just attacking indiscriminately and then ducking at the right time. All I'm trying to do is end phase 2. There is the scripted moment. As with last time, when he goes down, thrust attack his head. Now the strategy here is different too. Getting behind him is nice, but my overall method is to back up slightly and keep some distance to prompt him to do big swinging attacks. I then sneak in and do some damage while he recovers his balance. Another benefit of keeping back is that I can see which attacks he plans to do. This tells me if I should back off more or if I should duck and move forward. Again, that could be considered a very lucky third phase. It could have gone on for longer, but keeping a bit of distance and then counter-attacking is a workable strategy for this boss. Marguerite. The flamethrower stops her from attacking you once she's on fire. However, while she's being burned, she may still attack. It's only once she's on fire that you can walk away and she won't attack until the fire is extinguished. Shooting her in her insect hive will stagger her, and it will knock her off a wall, but it doesn't do a lot of damage. The benefit of knocking her off a wall is that she may fall on her back, which gives you a bit of time to attack her before she recovers. I showed earlier that the Magnum does very little damage to Marge. The grenade launcher is a little more effective, but at this stage in the game you won't have enough ammo to make it worth your while. I'm going to show you a method for beating Marguerite that anybody can do. This is on normal difficulty with normal ammo and no coin or steroid perks. Start by walking up these stairs and blocking. Get as close as possible so you don't have to aim, and then unload your shotgun on her head. Then, without reloading, quickly switch to your handgun and shoot her in the head without aiming. Go down here and keep looking up. All the while, reload both of your weapons. When you finally look down, Marge will have spawned in that hole over there. A quick shot wakes her up, and only aim for her head. I nearly reloaded then when I should have been switching to the shotgun to take some shots. Those were 2 bad shots, but never mind. Now you play Ring Around the Rosies with Margie, letting her chase you while you reload. Again, only aiming for her head. Shooting her in the head will not stagger her or slow her down, but it is her weakest point. As mentioned earlier, setting her on fire will stop her attacking you, but the downside is that it often makes her leave. Shooting her in the insect hive will stagger her, but it doesn't do as much damage as it first appears. Again, the aim is to run around the obstacles and avoid her while you reload. This ties into earlier advice about running around and loading, as well as the benefits of quicker reloading. In this example, I have taken no steroids or stabilizers, nor am I holding any of the DLC coins. That is why, even though this demonstration is fairly efficient, it probably won't take you this long to complete this boss. After fighting in one area, she is reluctant to return. She will often just slink off and lay some eggs and then send her flies after you. Another good spot to take her on is upstairs. She actually sneaks up on me there, which is unfortunate, but not completely unexpected. The goal here is the same as earlier, except that this time you're circling the ladder instead of circling the table downstairs. It doesn't make a massive amount of difference when it comes to which shotgun to use. I'm using the repaired shotgun because most of my shots are sort of a middle distance away. However, if you want this fight to be over a little faster, use the regular shotgun and get a little closer when you take the shots, since the regular shotgun is more effective when you get close up. I find her briefly, but I move into an area where she feels that she's already fought too much, so she leaves. Using this strategy, you can beat Marguerite every time, and in many cases take very little damage in the process. Fat Molded. The best strategy for this boss is 2 Neuro rounds to the head and 8 shots from the regular M37 shotgun. As mentioned earlier, the obese mold monsters take a lot of damage from Neuro grenades, and it's amplified if they take further damage while stunned. This is on normal difficulty with no reload and no coin upgrades, and yet it still takes less than a minute to defeat this boss. Try to aim for the head with the shotgun if you can, but in reality it's the Neuro rounds to the head that really do the heavy lifting in this fight. Mutated Jack Fight. Your best bet is flame grenades, the clue being those 3 that you collect before you enter the boss fight. This is a gimmick fight. Shoot the glowing parts until the battle is over. It is pretty simple, and the flame grenades make it easier because they have a very wide damage arc. You don't have to be a perfect shot, you just fire them in generally the right direction, and the explosion does the rest. After that, the M21 shotgun, the previously broken one, is good for people who are able to aim accurately at a middle distance away. The M37 shotgun is more for people who prefer to get in close and fight hard. Alternate between the shotgun and the fire grenades. Remember that fire works over time, so using a grenade while the boss is still on fire will have less of an effect. This is a boss where blocking is still pretty effective, so feel free to block if you cannot avoid its big sweeping attacks. It is safer down below if you keep circling the monster so that it can't hit you. As a side note, the M37 shotgun is great if you're not so fantastic at aiming, because you can fire off 4 rounds at full damage just so long as you're very close. As mentioned earlier, the M21, previously broken shotgun, is not stronger than the regular M37. However, it is more effective at range. If you are shooting the boss from below, it does give you a slight advantage. I haven't given away too many spoilers in this video, but some of them were inevitable. But I have to say that the twist at the end is just brilliant, especially because it recontextualizes all the stuff you saw beforehand, like the meal with the family and the stuff you see when you wander around, and even the motivations of what looks like a mentally unhinged family. There's a reason people still play this game. People love Resident Evil 7, and I count myself as one of them.